listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. Another first Tuesday of the month, which is an episode of the special variety where I read some articles that I have written previously in the very early stages of my parenting. First off, I want to welcome you. If you are listening for the first time, if you are joining us after the wonderful weekend we had at the 5th annual Women's Conference put on by Overflow Ministries in Bone Steel, South Dakota, welcome to the podcast, ladies. It was so wonderful being with you. And I can't wait to host a future episode where we're going to have a panel kind of unpacking the events. At least I should say, I hope that we're going to do this. I don't want to make any promises I can't keep, but upcoming, there should be an episode where we have a panel unpacking the events of the weekend. But welcome to the Motherhood Experience. So glad to have you joining us. What we do the first Tuesday of the month, or I should say what I've been doing the last couple of months, is just reading through. I used to write articles for a local newspaper way back when I was in the very early stages of not only parenting my young children, but also in the early stages of grief and bereavement after our daughter Harlan died, and just verbally processing through these articles what parenting was like, what motherhood was like in those days. This month, I found more of Val's writing, shall we say. I uncovered some, and I had completely forgotten these existed, but I used to write. I wasn't paid to write for them. They just featured my articles, I want to say on a monthly basis. There was a website called Moms of Faith. And for a time, the website was down and they went through like a lengthy process of rebranding and everything was changed. I couldn't access my articles for a long time. But these that I'm going to read to you today were written in 2014, I think over the course of about 5 or 6 months, actually. And so 2014 would have been when I was either pregnant or had just delivered little man, would have been the year following the loss of Harlan. And little Miss would have been 4 years old. So I thought I would kind of come up for air from the Parenting Perspectives columns and read these articles published on Moms of Faith. I have been to their website since. Actually, that's where I found my columns that I wrote to them. And I genuinely don't know if it's still an active site, like if people are still contributing regularly or if it's been a while since people have contributed. But I was grateful to find these. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to read them to you today. So there are 6 articles. Once again, probably as I read through them, I will just interject some thoughts or memories that I have from that time in my life. And thank you for joining me. I hope that you enjoy these articles. And I hope that you enjoy these episodes where I kind of revisit what it was like for me in those early days of motherhood. But also I hope that you'll come back. Next week, we have a wonderful guest joining us. And we have some fun surprises upcoming. So stay tuned for those. And now let's get into the articles. This first one here is, now I have the titles. I don't necessarily have the dates of when these were published other than, oh, wait, look right there. This one looks like, I take it back. February of 2014. Okay, so I was still pregnant with little man when I wrote this one. And this one is called Finding Hope Again After the Loss of a Baby. So little man was born in April of 2014, and this is February of 2014 when this article was published. I always wanted to be a mom. That is, until the day I didn't. I'm not sure what happened, really. I just remember it was a Saturday morning. I woke up next to my new husband, and I thought I wasn't too sure about this, quote, having kids thing. Hesitantly, I voiced my concern. To my surprise, his response was, quote, I was just thinking the same thing, end quote. There we were, newlyweds, who married with the idea of starting a family soon, changing our minds simultaneously on the same sunny Saturday morning. I told my parents they shouldn't expect grandkids from us. I rolled my eyes every time a heckler asked when we were having kids. I found myself infuriated by the ever-growing pressure from relatives and even friends to begin a family. We were young, we were happy, and we were fine. Why couldn't anyone understand that? Eventually, 6 years later, we got to a point where we weren't so young. We were still fine, but I knew my timeline for producing the tiny pitter-patter of feet was running shorter. We talked about maybe having kids. I'm going to call myself out here. I mean, yeah, we were fine, but things weren't rosy. All right, continuing on. When I didn't end up pregnant after the first month of trying, I thought for sure something must be wrong. After all, we'd gone 6 years without ending up pregnant. Now we were actually trying to get that way, and nothing was happening. Month number 2, I thought it happened. I was 7 days late, and 4 negative pregnancy tests didn't convince me I wasn't pregnant. When my period came, I was ultimately frustrated, devastated even. The 3rd month, I was waiting for my period, expecting it any second, and on a random whim took a pregnancy test. It was positive. I became a mother that very moment. I can't explain what happened or how. I just know that very moment I was a mother. I've been a mother ever since. That first pregnancy went swimmingly up until the 3rd trimester. With ankles the shape and size of Colosseum pillars and blood pressure that went all directions but down, it was discovered I had severe HELP syndrome. Our little miss entered the world via emergency cesarean at 32 weeks. She spent 30 days in the NICU and came home after gaining not quite 2 pounds, weighing a hefty 4 pounds 8 ounces. It was the most traumatic experience we had ever been through at that point in our lives. Bringing her home was a blessing, a joy, and an absolute abundance of God's grace and might. Little Miss will be 4 in a couple of months, and the joys of parenting her far outweigh any joy we could have imagined. She is a princess in every sense of the word. When we decided to grow our family again, she couldn't have been more thrilled to discover she would have a baby sister. It was a toss-up to see who was more excited, her or us. After a normal pregnancy, no help this time, I went into labor at 37 weeks. When we got to the hospital, we learned our daughter's heart had stopped beating. We would never bring her home. I delivered her straight into the arms of Jesus. The heartache and despair we feel after losing her, are far heavier than any words are capable of describing. We felt an abundance of God's grace and might in a completely different way, and heaven knows we couldn't survive this without him. Now, we're expecting baby number 3, a boy this time. No matter the fears, no matter the angst this pregnancy brings with it, we're prayerfully hopeful for no traumatic experiences and bringing him home to be a joyful thorn in his big sister's side. I've been a mother since that day in August 2009. I've been through parenting joys. I've been through parenting nightmares. I've been to the depths of parenting despair, and I've climbed the peaks of parenting bliss. If there is one thing I have learned about being a mother, it's this. There is no love one can have for another like that of a mother for her children. Not just the children she holds in her arms, but for every child she tucks away in her heart. You know, it's very fitting, I feel like, to start this episode off with that article. That's the first one in the stack here, as April 10th, just a couple of weeks away, would have been Harlan's 12th birthday. It's very hard to believe that the journey of a bereaved parent has marked the map of my life for 12 years now. Wow. But I liked that one. Let's go on to the next one. This one, I have to scroll to the bottom to see the date. This one is from the very next month, March of 2014, entitled Mom Tips for Blustery Winter Days. So, I mean, it's April now, so maybe file this one away. Oh, it's getting to be a long winter where we live. Just yesterday, I caught myself staring out the window and hallucinating buds on trees. A quick snap back to reality had me seeing the couple feet of snow packed in our yard, the bare plant life, and plenty of smoke rising from the chimneys on our street in an effort to keep the homes warm in the frigid temperatures. Yes, it is March, but we'll be finding ourselves longing for spring rather than expecting it for several more weeks here. When the wind is roaring and the temperatures seem content to stay frigid, having to leave the house to go anywhere becomes more of a chore than an anticipated outing. When I had to put my snow boots, coat, and gloves on to take my kitchen trash the 5 steps from the door to the garbage can, I caught myself having one of those, "why do we live here?" moments. I suck it up and carry on, though, because that's what we moms do. My 3-year-old, however, confessed in her ever so present three-nager tone, "I'm getting really tired of feeling trapped in this house." Oh, sweet Haley, I can hear it. I can't say that I blame her. We have been staying in a lot more recently because not only do I worry about freezing her little nose off while I struggle with the car seat buckle and the mom mobile door stays open, but I'm 27 weeks pregnant as well, and my coat doesn't button around my protruding belly. I can stay indoors and wear my comfortable slippers to keep my toes warm, or I can venture outside and take 30 minutes to warm my blood to flowing again. I know the Lord gives us seasons, yet in our neck of the woods, it seems like the pause button gets pushed on winter. My daughter's statement was not lost on me, however. She is such a good kid, and I don't want her bored to tears, longing for things to do outside of the one place I love getting to spend time with her. It was time to roll up my sleeves and get my creative thinker going again. I prayed for wisdom and motivation and thinking outside the playtime box. I want her home to be her haven, not her prison. Here's what we've done to pass the time on the blustery winter days. Number 1, forts, or in her case, princess castles made of sheets. We move furniture, we grab extra chairs, and we have plenty of sheets and blankets we can drape over all of them. The best kind are the ones that have secret passage tunnels, so she can escape to find her prince when the need arises. Yes, our living room is transformed to more of a construction zone, but she loves having her own special place, hidden away from the queen, yours truly. 2, picnics. We pack ourselves a lunch in the kitchen and transport it to the picnic blanket we spread over the living room rug. The picnic basket is used for visualization's sake, or sometimes it hides a special dessert, and we spread out on our pretend lawn, enjoying the pretend summer day, soaking up some vitamin D from our glasses of milk, and talking about how often we should apply sunscreen. When lunch is done, I wipe her hands and mouth on the picnic blanket, and crumbs and all go straight into the washer. The best part is, no bugs. 3, dance parties. Granted, these don't last terribly long. I have a big belly but small lung capacity. When the right song comes on, however, we shake our sillies out, clap our crazies out, and twist and shout with the best of them. Sometimes I don't realize how long a song is until I try to dance to the entire thing, but little miss can keep up with the best of them. I often try to encourage her to keep going by asking, "Can you teach me that dance move?" Not only does she know I'm paying attention, but her little confidence builds right up when she thinks her mommy could use a pointer or two on how to bust a move. 4, scavenger hunts. My child is one you cannot have find much for you. I can point to an object on the floor and say, "It's right by your foot," and she'll spin halfway around a dozen times and look at spots on the floor beyond a 4-foot radius away. She tends to do much better when sent on a search for something rather than being told where it is. Sometimes our scavenger hunts are to find the lost shoe or the missing pieces of a puzzle we've been working on. Practical uses for scavenger hunts are not frowned upon. She does enjoy looking for something we've hidden on purpose, though. Sometimes she will find unexpected items like a bouncy ball we thought we'd lost or mommy's debit card that fell between the couch cushions. 5, devotionals. I suppose I am a bit surprised at how much she looks forward to these. We read a story from a devotional book for girls and respond to the follow-up questions. I try to think of examples she might remember from her own little life to draw upon so she can relate more. Her answers are usually far outside of what I would think to answer, but she's always able to tie it together and make the connection. She loves sitting to read devotionals with me, and I love the extra snuggle time. Whatever the weather has in store, it's always nice to have activities we can do indoors. Not only does it keep me on my toes, but it shows little miss that come rain or shine, imagination is the key to beating boredom. Lord, may she always be creative and innovative. May she always enjoy learning your word and how to apply it to her life. May the days we spend in princess castles and pretend picnic areas foster a lifelong trust in our mother-daughter relationship. And may our time together always be blessed, whether we spend it outdoors in your wonderful creation or inside in the coziness of home. In Jesus' name, amen. I suppose those could be used for rainy days as well, so it still applies for springtime. This next one from April of 2014 is entitled Toy Jail. I'm already smirking because I remember what my husband and I were trying to accomplish with this. We'll see if I address it in the column, but whoo, kids. Kids are fun. My 4-year-old has a terrible time remembering to pick up after herself. Our rule is when you're done playing with or using something, it needs to be put away. Her practice, however, is when she's done playing with or using something, drop it and find something else to drop, etc. Being as though I'm very pregnant and can only bend over so far to pick things up these days, and want to have teachable moments over enabling bad habits, I decided we should try a new approach. The first attempt I made was to instill a dreaded consequence. From now on, when I see a toy on the floor that isn't picked up, I'm going to throw it away. Her response was immediate and matter of fact. Well, if you do something bad like that, you will go to jail. I could see I wasn't going to get very far in the way of threats. My second attempt was to, speaking of jail, try to create a toy jail. If I saw something not picked up, it would go to toy jail, and she would have to do a responsible chore to bail the toy out. The responsible chores consisted of making her bed, as best as a 4-year-old can, not complaining at nap time, eating all of her lunch, etc. It worked for one day. One day. The next time I saw something that needed to go to toy jail, I said, "Oh no, it looks like your toy is going to go to toy jail." Her response was, "Well, what will I have to do to get it out?" I reminded her of the responsible chores. She stood, contemplated, then came back with, "Well, it's okay if it goes to toy jail. I didn't like it that much anyway." I thought that wasn't such a bad deal because we could thin out our abundant inventory of toys. However, that has become her signature response to toys being taken to toy jail. I lost what I was after, instilling responsibility and accountability. Instead, I discovered a bargainer who would rather part with a toy she had just played with than do something to earn it back. I now have a stockpile of toy prisoners who apparently will be better off in another home. Additionally, however, I also have a toddler who would rather relinquish responsibility than exercise it. This is a struggle for me as her mother, trying to train her up with a heart to serve God rather than mimic learned behaviors. I know we have too much stuff, and I've tried, unsuccessfully, to get others on board with giving gifts more meaningful than just another toy that will be forgotten or not cared for. On one hand, I can see this toy jail as an efficient decluttering mechanism. However, the clutter is second priority. The real priority is teaching my daughter gracious obedience and responsibility. Toys aren't the prize of life. Jesus is. Maybe I'm putting too much emphasis on the method for teaching and not enough on the lesson itself. If she's okay with not being surrounded by toys, then maybe I should just get on board with that and help her downsize her inventory. I can try to focus energy on other tactics to teach being responsible and honoring mommy and daddy, all of which honor God. I want to train her heart in the way of the Lord, not just teach her a behavior she can mimic without understanding any purposeful application. What are some of the techniques you've adopted to encourage listening skills and willing cooperation from your littles? You know what? I'm glad I wrote this down, first of all, because I only remember the fact that she told me, "It can go to jail, I don't like it." I don't remember the lesson that it taught me. I'm so glad I wrote this. And yes, my children are 15 and 11, but we might reinstate belongings jail. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. The next one is entitled Beautiful, Teaching Children Modesty Early. My husband and I didn't think we'd find ourselves trying to teach our 4-year-old about modesty. We thought for sure that would be something to save for the preteen years. However, lately, we've found the influences she finds and sees in the world around her on a daily basis have caused us to bump up our timeline for talks on being modest. We can't go shopping without seeing billboards or posters of scantily clad women. Magazines are full of pictures of women with exposed skin. Television, shows and commercials, are laden with sexified images of what a woman could, should, or wants to be perceived as. Even dolls are not leaving much to be desired. These did not go unnoticed by our daughter. We would find her pulling her shirts down, pulling her sleeves together to give her a shoulderless attire, rolling her pant legs up as far as they would go, etc. We continually asked her to stop modifying her wardrobe as such and would ask her why she felt the need to do those things. And her answer was always a cool and serious, "I'm just trying to be beautiful." With eyebrows raised, my husband and I teamed together to tackle this societal misconception being adopted by our preschooler. We informed her at every opportunity that she was beautiful no matter what she wore. She didn't need to look like anyone else to be pretty. She didn't need to show off uncovered skin. She didn't need to pretend to be those women she saw. God made her just the way she was, and no one could argue that there would be no greater beauty than celebrating that. We worked tirelessly at times, trying to instill the values of modesty, decency, and purity into the mind and heart of our preschooler. Oftentimes, we would find ourselves completely dumbfounded that we were already having to work so hard to defeat such a strong influence in the mind of our little one. Beauty is so much more than clothing, so much more especially than how little one can wear. She loves to be a princess and wear dress-up dresses, shoes that click on our hardwood floor, and carry her wand around. She always wants to wear these outfits and will exclaim, "Aren't I so beautiful?" Again, her father and I would combat this as a generalization and explain to her she is beautiful no matter what. And we love and admire her for all of her beautiful ways, even when she's not dressed like a princess. The other day, I noticed fruit from our efforts. As she twirled around in sweatpants and a long-sleeve shirt, courtesy of our still chilly temperatures for spring, she commented, "I'm beautiful no matter what I'm wearing." My husband and I looked at each other, and I noticed relief spread across his brow. It was working. We were getting through. Our message was superseding the others our daughter had absorbed. Do not let your adorning be external, the braiding of hair and the putting on of gold jewelry or the clothing you wear, but let your adorning be the hidden person of the heart with the imperishable beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which in God's sight is very precious. 1 Peter 3, verses 3 and 4. This will be a lesson we'll have to revisit as she gets older, I can be sure. As other images, peer pressures, and self-doubt filter into her world, her father and I will be there to reassure her that beauty is not skin deep. It is a matter of the heart her Creator longs to reside in. We are precious in His sight and created in His image. There is no beauty greater than that which He has already given us. Princess dresses are just a bonus. I would add, now, having a son in the mix, that teaching our children about modesty is far more impactful, perhaps, than we realize. And we had a board game. It wasn't a board game, but it was some kind of game that had these cartoon. I don't want to say what it was. Maybe I should. I don't know. It had some popular cartoon characters on it, and they were of like the superhero vein. And one of the women's superheroes was very, very much uncovered in certain places. And we couldn't play the game anymore because my son was so bothered by the visual distraction. And so he he would say, like, cover up those cards, or please don't let me look at those cards. And we finally just got rid of the game. And I think, yeah, we should be teaching our kids that our bodies aren't just to be on display, and we're not made beautiful by the things that we wear. This one is entitled Parenting the Fruit of the Spirit. One thing of a bazillion continually on my mind is the fruit of the Spirit and how I will be measured by my fruit. As a Christian parent, one of my top priorities is to have my family complete in heaven. I want all of my children there with me one day. I therefore put intense pressure on myself to ground my children solidly in the Word, in faith, and in producing fruit. Reading those words in Galatians again this morning, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, gave me pause. The fruit of the Spirit, not the fruit of the mother, not the fruit of the parent, the fruit of the Spirit. My focus has been set entirely on how I can mold and form my children to be like-minded as I am. Think the way I think, believe the way I believe, act the way I act. Only when I act appropriately, though. I don't want them picking up my bad habits. Have I been completely off in this approach? The answer is yep. I do think it's important, and there is immeasurable value in leading by example, not just for those we are leading, but for holding ourselves accountable. We, of course, need to set and then follow our own examples for our children. How to be loving, how to be patient, how to be kind, living in faith. When our children see us modeling these and going beyond simply speaking about them, it impacts them in a powerful way. However, forcing them to do the same is not what we are called to do. When I was young and knew it all, tongue in cheek, and when I thought I knew what the Bible was saying without ever reading it, I assumed being fruitful and producing fruit of the Spirit meant converting people to follow Christ. If we could show one person how Jesus could save their soul and they repented and claimed his power and mercies in their life, we were fruitful. Lo and behold, while that's wonderful, that's not what the Bible proclaims as fruit. Love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Funny how the fruit of the Spirit has everything to do with God's work in me and not my work in converting other people. You know what? Looking at that list depicted in Scripture, there is no way I can model those on my own. Yet here I am trying to take over and show my children how it's done. The fruit of the Spirit, not of myself, not of the mother, the Spirit. In order to model the fruit of the Spirit, I need to first allow the Spirit to live in me and cultivate my heart, work through me, guide me, and lead me. I need to let the Spirit do the Spirit's work. That said, I need to allow the same in my children. I need to pray over them daily and love them to the Lord, not force upon them proper behaviors that merely mimic fruitfulness. Bearing fruit is a matter of the Spirit at work in the heart, not proof of trained actions due to simply following orders. As a mother, I'm constantly praying for my children, for how I can be a better mother to them, how I can lead them to assured salvation. The fact of the matter is, I can't do it, not of my sole power. I can let the Spirit bear fruit within me, then I can pray my children allow the same in their own lives. If I am modeling, rather than forcing, work of the Spirit, they will see it. They will be impacted by it. They will desire the Lord's work in their life. If I repeat verbal instruction to them in the hopes it will offset worldly temptations, failures, and setbacks, however, there will be no fruit of any kind. I am not my children's Holy Spirit. I am their mother. I am a child of God, as are they. I need to let the Lord do the Lord's work, and that includes his work in my own mother's heart. Thank God he's God, and I don't have to be, not even for my children. Well, that's a little convicting, honestly. And so, since I'm no good at transitioning things, there's an awkward transition to the final article, postpartum self-care tips. Boy, this one ought to be good. I can't wait to see what I had to say about this. We had our third baby a little over 2 months ago. It has been a while since we've had a newborn in the house, and as prepared as I thought I was for the days and weeks after bringing him home, I was sorely mistaken. Being left wanting in what I've read and been told about postpartum self-care, I'm here to offer up my own experiential advice. 5 postpartum self-care tips. Number 1, be creative with your sleep. People will tell you that sleep is the most important postpartum self-care tip, and when your baby sleeps, you should too. Believe me, I'd love to sleep when he sleeps. I also have a 4-year-old, however, and a husband and a home, and all of these things need to be taken care of. I'd also like to get a shower once in a while, which seems to only be possible when baby is asleep. Even if I could catch a few Z's while he is asleep, my 4-year-old probably isn't going to nap on a whim. So we play games like, let's pretend mommy is a table and you can have a tea party on the special mommy table. Blankets come in handy as a nice tablecloth. Number 2, it's okay to cry a lot. When I can't get enough sleep, see tip number 1, I tend to get overly emotional. It's expected, it's normal, and it's completely okay. For some reason, we tend to think postpartum self-care is limited to the things you can do that will make others think you have it all together. I'm here to tell you that isn't the case. Anyone with an ounce of common sense knows having a baby in the home is hard work, and you are allotted tears. Your hormones are still crazy, you're not getting enough sleep, your life has just been turned upside down, and you're trying to sort things out physically and emotionally. It's okay to cry. Don't be ashamed for feeling overwhelmed, overtired, or overrun. 3, let people help you. After we had our son, I was overly protective of him. We lost our second child to stillbirth, so when he came along, I didn't want to put him down. I didn't want anyone to hold him. I didn't want anyone to feed him other than me. I wanted him in my line of sight at all times. Now that it's been a few months, I've become more relaxed, and for good reason. In postpartum self-care, you cannot self-care at all if you are constantly holding your baby. When you're ready, and with people you trust, invite them over to hold your little ones so you can let your arms breathe and take care of a few other household things that are driving you nuts. It's a lot easier to do the dishes with both hands. Number 4, expect and prepare for postpartum depression. It is a real thing. It affects a large percentage of mothers, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. Right around the 3 to 6 week mark after having our son, I was greatly affected by postpartum depression. I was able to recognize it for what it was, however, and allowed myself to process emotions and feelings as they happened rather than worrying about what I was feeling or why. Again, the flux of hormones, the lack of sleep, and multiple people demanding your time and attention are a bad combination for maintaining a peaceful, easy feeling. Aha, Eagles song. How did I sneak an Eagles song into a postpartum care? Wow, look at me. Okay. Prepare yourself for postpartum depression and make sure you have people available to support you through it. Make sure to bring any outlying concerns to the attention of your doctor if symptoms don't lessen over time. Number 5, get out of the house. This is one of the most crucial tips for postpartum self-care. So often you get caught up in taking care of baby, the house, your other kids, and it's easy to run around in sweats and skip showers and stay indoors. I know because I did it. When the opportunity presents itself, grab onto it tightly with both hands and get out of the house. Even if it's a trip to the grocery store, the freeing sense of being alone for a while with no demands or familial stressors is invigorating. Make an appointment for a pedicure. Get a massage. Go shop for some new clothes or shoes. Drive through somewhere, park at your favorite scenic spot, and enjoy a hot meal with no interruptions. You will be renewed, refreshed, and you will be able to better care for your family after having a little personal space. Remember, this is only temporary, and that statement is twofold. The stress and chaos of this time will be short-lived in the grand scheme of things. That said, however, so will the baby cuddles and snuggles, the high-pitched infant cries and the sleepy feedings. Try to relish as many of these moments as you can and still allow yourself some personal time and space. Finding a healthy mix between the two will help you enjoy these moments all the more and will give you the tools to handle the more stressful moments of motherhood. The end. Well, mamas, I appreciate you joining me once again as I read through some of the publishings, some of the writings from my early days of motherhood. I hope that you have enjoyed them this time around. I hope that you have learned something. Goodness knows I convicted myself with my own writing from 11 years ago. Wow. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please feel free to interact with us over there. Every time you comment, like, share any episode or any post that we make, it helps us tremendously by letting the internet algorithm know that you're listening to us. Even though I know you're listening, the algorithm can't seem to figure it out. So that's why we need your participation online. Always appreciate having talks with you over there. And until next time, I just want to encourage you, mamas. You are doing wonderful work, raising wonderful people. Take care, and God bless. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow The Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.